Alrighty, I am here with the third placer of season 10 trendsetters, Tyecha. Thank you so much, Tyecha, for doing the exit interview. We are recording this post season because obviously you were a part of the finale. You were in that three competitions at the end, and then right into the jury roundtable. So not much time in between to do the exit interview, but appreciate hopping on after the everything has happened. So let's just briefly walk through your game here real quickly. You started off the game, at a vote that was very, very straightforward. A couple of votes that were very straightforward with Michael and Shannon being eliminated. You were on the right side of both of those votes. But I wanted to ask you, coming into the game, it seemed like you only really knew of Aaron being a player. So how was it, kind of those opening rounds, getting to know all the new people and, navigating all the different relationships that come with the open format and whatnot?
Honestly, it's very interesting. I like when it's a lot of people I don't know, because you're able to kind of get that feeling of like getting to know someone again, and it's you can build relationships, and that's more so how I like to do things. So when I first got into the game and there was a bunch of people I didn't know, I liked it. I was kind of scared that Erin was here because I know how good Erin is at the game, and I think if she would have made it through that vote, she would have made it very far. She gives like she's like has like a lot of similar qualities to Sam, and I told Sam that I'm like Erin is like literally a mini you. It's so funny, um, just in the way they compose themselves and everything. So I was sad when Erin left, but it also kind of gave me a sense of relief. It's like I feel like I don't have to like worry about somebody else because I feel like I would have felt a sense of loyalty to Erin since I do know her. So
Yeah, and as Aaron was eliminated, as you are aware, she was, the twist was, eliminated players give out power. So she ended up giving you a power, the power to sit two people out of a competition, which ultimately I believe you gifted to somebody else to use.
I give it
So,
to you.
yep, you gifted it to Sandy to use. So how did it feel, Aaron giving you the power? And then like, did you ever think about using that power yourself, or did, that naturally just work out where you could give it to Sandy?
My game, oh, it's like my gameplay. No, no way. Like when you use that power, it has to be someone in that role of they're gonna be able to cause waves. And right then, when we were still doing teams, there's no way that I could possibly still do that. One sec. There's no way I could possibly still do that. And I'm sorry. So
You're fine.
I can't. I swear, I hate it. But it's more so like Sandy was in a position where it worked perfectly to give it to him because he sat out Jackson and Internet, two of the people I was also targeting, but I couldn't openly come out and say I was targeting them. So if I would have used it, it would have looked weird, right? Because I'm playing this game in the middle, and I'm playing it as being everybody's friend, trying to cause waves. So if I would have used it, I think it would have just put an unnecessary target on me. So I think for my gameplay, it was better to give it to somebody else to use it.
100%. So the first vote that like was even really like caused any waves was the Jeremy vote. You were in on that on the right side of that Jeremy vote. Um, he was obviously let in, or excuse me, they were obviously let in on their inevitable elimination prior to the vote. You guys know that at this point, but um, what was your take on the Jeremy elimination? The Jeremy exit afterwards. I know that that was a big elimination and kind of turning point for the season.
It was smart. Like it was like so necessary and so smart for that to be the case. And when it happened, I figured Antoinette was the one because Antoinette was the only person given the resistance to getting Jeremy out. But it was smart on my part as well because out of the people that were left, it was the options were Delaney, Nick, Marcelo, and Jeremy. And out of all those connections thus far, I felt closer with Nick, and I felt like Delaney could potentially be a number sooner or later. and I love Jeremy, but I didn't have a connection with them, and a game connection at least. I didn't have a game connection with them yet, and I also knew they were a threat. Like Sam had said, they came to them with information, which they didn't come to me with any information. So I, you know what I mean. So I knew they were potentially closer with other people more than me. So it was good on my part. I felt like to get Jeremy out, and I was totally okay with everything afterwards because, drama is better for me.
Right. So I wanted to ask you, some of your main allies in the game, throughout the game were, Sandy, Sam, Zach, and three of you made it like to the final three. Sandy made the jury. But I wanted to ask, how was it, working alongside like a player like Sandy, who's like, confronting people like very OTT out in the open a couple rounds? Like, how was that for you?
I actually like it a lot. That's my favorite type of player to work with. Sandy's like very funny to me and very chaotic, and I know a lot of people may not. It might come off different to them, but it worked because not only was he able to do that, he was able to back it up by winning the competitions he was able to win. So people couldn't really do much because he was a threat, and he was able to build strong, have strong allies like Sam. They come together. They came together with the whole pendant, and even like Shannon gave it to Sandy when she left the other half of it, and they had that the whole time. He had that the whole time, so he was able to play the game how he wanted to. And with Sandy, I wanted to use him as, I wouldn't say like a shield because people knew I was close to Sandy, but I don't think they always would suspect Sam or Zach ahead of me. So I knew Sandy would probably view me as someone like more so like, okay, I'll give him Sandy information, but also Sandy could view me as someone that's easy to like beat in a sense. Because when you play the middle ground, you can't be someone that looks like they win a bunch of competitions because in the end, who's gonna take you to the final, right? And that's kind of how I was with Zach. Zach wanted to take me to the end over Sam because I think I feel like Zach could have beat me over Sam. I mean, I feel like both of them could have beat me over one another, but Sam took the route of saying, I want a strong competitor next to me, more so, if that makes sense.
Yeah, we'll get into that. We can get into that kind of discussion, the finale situation too, even further once we get a little bit further. But I understand what you're saying.
Mm-hmm.
An interesting vote here, though, that comes before all that good stuff was the Jester vote. That was probably the closest vote of the season. You were on the right side of that Jester vote, but the people that I was talking about, earlier, some of your main allies, you ended up voting differently from them this round. So I thought this was an interesting vote for you. So I wanted to get your take on it. Sam, Sandy, Zach, they all were planning on voting out Jeff.
Yeah.
And you go with kind of majority here with Jester. So I wanted to ask you about the whole live night and the Jester elimination.
Okay, so that 10 minutes was so hectic that we could not get a good conversation in. They were in the chat talking, like the Alliance chat, and I was out trying to talk to other people because in the end, I want to see what everybody else is saying so I can bring that information back to the chat to see what vote we can do. It was such a hot mess. Zach had ended up saying Jeff's name, and I was fine with that because I thought Jeff had a better relationship with Sam or Sandy, so I was definitely fine with that. And I felt like Jester liked me, and I liked Jester. I didn't think it was smart to give her to Jester, but as I'm telling, like Delaney is asking, "What's the vote?" I was like, Jeff, it's Jeff. Right when I tell her that, I go back to our chat and I see Slade and Seamus saying, "Oh my God, this is a bad idea. We shouldn't do it." And then they were like, "Yes, fine, let's not do it." But then the vote comes out, and it was like up to me. I could have like changed the outcome of it, and I felt super bad. But at the same time, it was a good thing because I had to save my ass with Jeff to make sure he didn't think it was me that voted him out. Um, so it was not the worst thing nor the best thing for my game, but it kept me. I think it kept me like under the radar, still playing the middle, so it kept me where I wanted to be.
Yeah, And you were a part of that group Gaga Chandra as well. So like it was interesting to watch, you kind of work with Sandy, Sam slash Zach, that side of it, and then also work alongside, the Slade, Seamus side of it. Would you say like you were more like was there a group that you were more loyal to throughout the game? Or
Definitely Zach and Sandy side of things. I was definitely a little more loyal. I love Slade and Sheamus, but obviously I knew that they would have each other's backs over myself. And also, Sheamus is so erratic with what he does. There's no way. No way. No. I love Sheamus though.
would you say he's more erratic than even Sandy was?
Sandy was erratic, but Sandy was on my side, and Sandy would tell me things. Like the whole little blow up, Sheamus went right to Sam, right to Marcelo, blew up the whole group right there off of a decision. And obviously, I know Sandy was close to a lot of people, including Sam, but I knew that. I didn't know Sheamus was going to Marcelo and then Antoinette, other people, and like exposing different things. Sandy is at least like, I mean, Sandy, like he's like he was partnering with everybody, so like I feel like almost everybody knew a little things. He like you kind of can see Sandy from a little bit more the game he's playing than other people. So I like to. I would rather have stuck by someone I know what they're doing and I can always like get out of it rather than Sheamus who can flip a whole thing against me, have a whole bunch of powers, and like that's what happened with Live Night. It went crazy.
100%. And so after this just your vote, you're in on a pretty straightforward Jeff vote. That's a part of a double elimination where Jeff and Dre go home. And then you also eliminate Jackson in a majority vote to get yourself into the jury
Mm-hmm.
phase. So you, the first, vote in the jury phase, you were not a part of, but you were there for the live night. You saw kind of what happened
Mm-hmm.
with Slade basically getting like all the powers played and then him being eliminated in a revote. Did you have any thoughts on that vote? I know that that was a huge vote in the whole scheme of things in the season.
Yes, and I was really irritated by it because I feel like if there was better communication, we wouldn't have had to go through all of that within our group. Like, so it kind of irritated me because it made me have to rethink how I did things now. Because no, we can no longer hide behind the alliance, obviously, even though it's already falling apart. But there's still people within that alliance that trust one another. And I know Slade is very level headed when it comes to doing what's best to get him far. So I like that. So when Slade went home and then it was just a mess from then on. It was just a hot mess. But it was good in the sense of it showed like a split. You can now see like the entire split and everybody knew about it. Like nobody was trying to hide it. There was a split and everybody could tell.
Right. And ultimately, after, that vote and all this split happens, Sandy is eliminated the next round. And then following Sandy, we get a vote here that your name comes up for the first time
Mm-hmm.
in the first time you had, a vote written down for on your name, where Antoinette is ultimately voted out 5-2, but the two votes for you are now here. So were you feeling like was there any like worry from your end here, or were you kind of like, nah, she's going home no matter what?
I mean, I shouldn't say I wasn't worried because I am positive that Sheamus or Delaney could have flipped it. But um when I tell you that Sheamus is like erratic with his gameplay, Sheamus is erratic because Sheamus, he's smart, and I mean, Antoinette was definitely a bigger threat than me, and if you're smart, it would have been better to get Antoinette out. So, yeah, I was nervous because obviously they're erratic, but I did come to the conclusion that Sheamus and Delaney, especially Delaney, they wanted Antoinette out more than they wanted me out because even though they knew we were on different sides, I think Sheamus thought after Sandy left, I would be more on him
Hmm.
than sticking with him on the other side.
Right. Yeah, and ultimately, they do end up voting out Antoinette. and she is eliminated. The next round is where Zach kind of goes on a streak here with trendsetter wins, and this is the last time he's able to choose a co-trendsetter, which he chooses you. Was there
Mm-hmm.
much discussion between you and Zach, or was it kind of like you guys are pretty close allies, and it kind of just makes sense for him to save you there?
So the first time he had won during that whole like leg, he chose Sam, and so the second time, he was like, if something crazy does happen, I'm gonna keep you. But we had figured the vote was going to do that crazy thing anyway, and we thought we would be covered on all angles. But just in case, Zach said he wanted to keep me and do it for me because Sam was out also asking for him to like pick her. So I think it was just a matter of who he thought he could have more, I guess, like more loyalty, whoever had more loyalty towards him at that moment.
Yeah, and you basically are saying like you guys had your ends covered here because two of your allies being safe with the trendsetter and
Hmm.
co-trendsetter, and then all three of you voting together,
Right,
causing a tie would make the other person eventually safe in a deadlock tie kind of thing.
right.
Um, so this is where Delaney's ultimately rocked out of the game, and year three basically has majority now. You kind of take it all the way down into the final three, eliminating Sheamus and Marcelo back to back. Was there ever like a thought from your point of view? I know how the season ends up now, but like
Mm.
in the game, was there ever a thought, hey, maybe I should make a move on Sam or Zach, or was it kind of like, you know what, I think I could beat either of them anyway?
You know, there was a point when I thought about it, but then I thought like it doesn't make sense for me to do it. Like it didn't make sense for me to do it in my type of gameplay that I had played that season. It didn't make sense for me to make that move without being sure. Because at that moment I did feel like Sam would take me. I felt like Zach would take me, and I never knew really like if I could beat them because I mean, I think it was different for me. I was able to see their games a little like up close when I worked with them. So like I saw the games they played. I know the moves they made. I know the connections they had, and but then again, you also have to look at it from a jury perspective. People have different, you know, encounters with them throughout the game. They have different ways of remembering their gameplay. So I wasn't really thinking about that part. But in my head, I just wanted to make it to final two. And I think those were my best options. Marcelo, I felt might have taken Sam. Um, and I think I don't even know where Sheamus was at this point. Like I figured we were probably gonna get Sheamus out. I didn't know where Sheamus's head really was with it. So I thought my best option was to just to stay loyal, stick it out, and try to make it to the end.
Yeah, 100%. I think that was your best bet from this point out, and ultimately it didn't shake out in your favor because the the wrong person ended up winning the last competition in Sam, and she smartly chose to eliminate you because I don't know if you look back at the or not the jury roundtable, but the at the jury like chat. I don't know if you could see that far, but I think you were going to beat either of them based on it's interesting how questioning and speeches obviously go, but going into a finale, I think you were a front runner to win against either of the finalists this season. Basically, is what I'm saying.
Yeah.
Uh, but having me saying that, does that make it like even does that like suck more? I guess
I
like I
mean,
don't know how to word that question. Like, does that make it burn more? I guess.
not. I'm really happy with how the season turned out. I mean, obviously, yeah, you would want to win, but at the same time, I think either one. Like, I mean, we had a good cast this season. I feel like, and I think every game can speak for itself, and I think every game is different. And I feel like anybody representing the season would have been looked good. Obviously, yeah, it would have been better if it was me for my first month, but I was happy with either Sam or Zach, honestly. So I'm not too bummed about it. There are two people I worked with the whole game, and I felt good with.
So what was the deciding factor for you to vote for Zachary in the end? Was it when did it like like apparent to you that that's who you were going to be voting?
Zach mentioned it in his speech, but I love Sam to death, and I feel like she played a great game. But Zach, I I know his type of gameplay, and I know a lot of people probably don't respect it or maybe they don't see it. But Zach, he played his ass off. Zach could have went home so many times. If Zach would not have won all those comps, there's no guarantee that me and Sam would still be safe, or we would even have made it that far without Zach. And Zach won when he needed to. He studied when he needed to. He played how he needed to. He was like he stood behind Sam and Sandy a lot, and a lot of people didn't like Zach, and I think him making it that far, which is with everything he did, he's very like he's just so smart. I voted for Zach because I told Zach like in final four, like if you don't make it, it's a disgrace. It's a disgrace because you played the fuck out of this game, and he did, and I'm happy he even made it to final two, and I either one of them winning would have been great, but I just voted for who I felt like had a little edge over the other.
Yeah, I thought that either one of them would have been, great representatives of the season, of course. Ultimately, Sam won 4-3, so it was a very close vote. I wanted to get your take on some of these awards. I'm looking at the awards that you won, and I wanted to see what your take on them were. So you won the Robbie Robbed Award. You won the Jabbar slash Tulsi Unstoppable Award, and host favorite of Memesy. So what were your thoughts on these awards? Obviously, I think the two of them were like very, hinting at you being, robbed this season. So thoughts on the awards that you received?
I mean, I appreciate that they think that. I mean, honestly, I loved like this whole experience, like production, everything. Y'all are so organized. It helps me because I'm not, and it was really fun. I don't know if I was robbed per se. I mean, I think my game was good, but I do think I lacked in certain aspects, like um even like the comps. Cause I don't know, maybe I got too much in my head because I don't usually think I'm that bad at comps, but I don't know. Maybe I played into my role a little too much of trying not to look like a comp threat because I did not. I could have won some of those. Well, you know what comp I couldn't? The final three. That first comp, I was like, I was not winning that. But like even the endurance ones and everything like that, I just could not do it, and I usually can. So I felt bad about that, but I don't think I was robbed at all. Like people play some good games, but it helps that people think that.
Yeah. Um, Say your schedule works out perfectly and Ascendance is casting for another season, maybe a returnee season. Is another season of Ascendance something that you would be open towards, or are you kind of like, you know what, I made it all the way here, like I'm one and done?
Almost deaf. I would definitely love that. I don't know how. It depends on what type of season it is. I mean, I would do it anyway, but I don't know how my game would be at that point. I don't know. I probably would have to like change a few things about it,
What
but
would what would you have to change?
I think for the most part, I don't know how big people are on like social threats when it comes to it, but I honestly would still want to work with someone very strong. I like working with people that are strong in the sense of loyalty, but they're also like strong in the sense of like threat wise. And I know that sounds like kind of sketchy. You don't want to work with someone that's a big threat, but I think it's smart to work with someone that's a big threat, but not be seen with them. Like if that makes sense. Like I don't want to be taken out because they can't get to the person they perceive as a big threat because I'm close to them. But I don't want. I don't know how to word that right. Like it's more so it's easier to do and show than to like say. Um,
Yeah, no, I understand what you're saying. Kind of like play alongside somebody that is like an out there kind of person, like an out there like known entity, and kind of like work alongside them without having the appearance of it.
like under the cover, under the radar, and it works really good that way because you get information and you help their games out, but it's more under the radar and it's under the cover, which is me and Zach talk about those type of gameplays all the time.
Perfect. So we kind of went through your entire game here. We went through, everything that happened, the ending. Um, is there anything else that Tyecha you want to talk about that maybe we haven't covered, or am I good kind of capping this exit interview off here?
I think we're good. I think we talked about pretty much everything. It was really fun. For the most part, I feel like everybody saw most of the things that happened, and that's pretty much my thoughts on everything.
Perfect.